Councillor Tudor, give me a chance, Councillor Manzer, Councillor Thurber, and Deputy Warden Matthew Ross, and then we have Coralie Ross, Manager of Corporate Services, who is ill. We have Tyler, who is Manager of Municipal Services. We have the CAO, which is Jeff, and we have Taylor Robinson, our Executive Assistant, all here. I would like you now to pause to seek guidance. And we will now do the reading of the mission statement: to provide, promote, or facilitate municipal services that meet the community needs while preserving, supporting, and enhancing quality of life for all. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. There are no delegations or presentations tonight. So the next is the approval of the minutes of July 25th, 2023. Is there any errors or omissions before we begin?
Motion to approve the minutes of July 25th, 2023.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Unfinished business from those minutes. Hearing none. We will go to the CAO report. Meeting reminders. October the 3rd at 5 p.m. we have Public Works. Please remember to have anything into the CAO by September the 27th or 8th? 27th? If there's a deadline there.
I was just going to say, just give me 1 second. Yeah, I probably said the 27th.
Okay. Bylaw and policies then at 6 p.m. On October the 10th, it's 5 p.m. For Committee of the Whole. The 17th, there is going to be no meeting. October the 24th, there is a meeting for Council at 5. October 31st, Halloween, we are going to not be here. November the 7th, we're at the NSFM conference. Is anybody going besides Angela and Matthew? George?
An SFM conference and when?
November 7th to the 10th.
So is that Halifax? Is it?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Okay. And then November the 14th at 5 p.m. we have Committee of the Whole, and at 6 p.m. we have the Audit Committee. On November the 21st, technically there's no meeting, but if we need a bylaw and policy, we will be doing it on that date. November the 28th, we have Council. Now, is there any action items from the previous minutes that anyone wanted to check on? They've got their new vehicle for Public Works. They got the parts for the...
Sort of.
Sorry.
So the Public Works vehicle, at the time of this report, it was accurate that we picked it up and it was here. There's been a recall since, so it's back there and going to be back there for a little bit, but we'll have it back before winter, sometime by November-ish, hopefully. But,
so are they giving us something in between?
Well, we're trying to get our other vehicle that they have and doing repairs on back
Okay.
for 2015. So we're working on it. Yeah.
And then we have for the Weymouth pumping station parts that's needed, that's come in.
Yep.
And then we have for the rural internet a partial bill payment that has been made. Any other questions anyone wanted to ask? Okay, the update on capital projects. Was there any questions anyone wanted to ask? And then the financial report of July and August. Any concerns or questions? Okay. We will now go to our standing committee items, bylaw and policy. The bylaw long service recognition number COM-1500-04.
I move to accept the amendments to policy number COM-1500-04 milestone long service recognition as presented.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Any concerns, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next is the HR review policy, number AD-1000-08.
I move HR review policy AD-1000-08.
Do you want to just look behind you, David?
Move to accept the amendments to policy AD-1000-08 HR review policy as presented.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next was the flag policy, number MP-4500-03.
I'd like to move MP-4500-03 flight policy as presented. Move to accept the amendments too, sorry.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next was the turning the tides letter of support, and this is the recommendation from the committee of the whole, which is on there.
I move that council will write a letter of support for Turning the Tides integrated youth sites in Western Elstone.
Is there a seconder?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next is the Nova Scotia Therapeutic Recreation Association sponsorship request. Again, the motion was.
I'll move the council approve the Nova Scotia Therapeutic Recreation Association sponsorship request in the amount of $100 to support their 6th annual AGM and conference being held at the Digby Pines.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next is the Digby and Area Community Garden sponsorship request.
I'll move that council approve the Digby Area Community Garden sponsorship request in the amount of $425 for half the cost of a new park bench for the Digby Elementary School flower garden.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next, the Gilbert's Cove and District Historical Society funding request.
I move that council approve the Gilbert's Cove and District Historical Society funding request in the amount of $1,000 to assist in the cost of replacing their roof.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next is the internet, and that is for 21 Acacia Valley Road.
I move that council agree to install high-speed internet services at 21 Acacia Valley Road due to educational services in the area.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The vulnerable persons list.
I move the council agree to send the correspondence from Sandra Hubbard LeBlanc, Regional Coordinator of Education and Outreach, Digby, Yarmouth, and Shelburne, to the REMO Advisory Committee to discuss at their next meeting.
Is there a seconder?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next, under the PAC recommendations, it's the first reading, the Municipal Strategy and Land Use Bylaw. And the motion is up there.
I move the council accept the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded?
Should have somebody read through that?
Yes. We did.
No, I mean right tonight. We shouldn't read it.
I went back through it, but I highlighted it, but we had gone through that and gone through that and gone through that. I was sort of looking, is there a mistake here I can find?
Yeah.
A lot of work from somebody. Oh.
And I will say that between Chris and Tyler and Tammy, they can have their jobs. And the young lady that helped Chris.
Yeah.
She just looks so tiny.
She didn't run off.
Nope.
She held her ground.
So, the next, those were the bylaw, this was the PAC, the next is Committee of the Whole recommendations. letter of support, turning the tide.
I move the council write a letter of support for Turning the Tides project to create capacity for housing groups.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Digby Ground Search and Rescue.
I'll move that council approve a loan to the Digby General or Digby Ground Search and Rescue in the amount of $50,000 to purchase a vehicle for search and rescue, which will be paid back over a 5-year period through an annual capital grant.
Is there a seconder?
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next is hiring of an actuary for the pension plan.
I move that council agree to hire an actuary to prepare information about a switch from our current pension plan to the public service superannuation plan.
Is there a seconder? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next, the Annapolis Valley Frugal Mom Society funding request.
I move the council approve the Annapolis Valley Frugal Mom Society funding request in the amount of $1,000 for their food rescue project.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next was the Smith Cove Fire Department letter of support. Now, in this one, a letter was sent to Matt
So this is
asking
different?
that it's still the same, that the employer not have a say for the unpaid fire. Go ahead.
So when we had looked at this the first time, we had asked that Councilor Thurber was going to attend a fire services meeting. I believe that meeting took place last week.
Yes.
So maybe Councilor Thurber, you could share with us the discussion.
It was brought up by Joshua in his report, and then it was brought up again by the FNF,
FANS.
Fine.
and they had taken it and looked at it, and they said that they weren't ready to make that kind of a commitment to move that forward, because they said that they had discussed it years ago, and they ran into a lot of negative feedback, and so the association talked about it, and basically everyone there came up with situations where they didn't think that it was a good idea, so the association wasn't going to move forward with it at this time. Jill Balzer was also at the meeting. She was going to take it forward for Josh, but she asked F. Sands if they were going to discuss it further, and they just said not at this time. It wasn't a priority, and that they weren't going to move forward with it.
So she wasn't going to?
So she said that she felt that they would have been a good support for her, but they just felt that it wasn't a good time for them.
And the association itself didn't feel
The association, yes. There was nobody that actually, like they said, they understood where he was coming from, but they understood also that a lot of them are in relationships with their employer, that they have a good relationship, and
They don't want to be saying, hey, you no choice, pal.
and they also all seen that it could be abused, if it was for training or car traffic control and stuff like that, so. And I talked to Joshua after the meeting and explained to him that, that's why I wanted to wait until the meeting, was just to see where everybody was, and so he was fine with what was discussed at the meeting. So I don't know what he'll do with it moving forward.
How do councilors feel?
Not to move forward if they're
Now, if they don't want to move forward, then there's no.
So should we just send a letter to Josh thanking him and explaining where the association and fans were not in favor at this time?
Yep.
That we will wait till a later date as well.
That makes sense.
Do we need a motion?
Yes.
So can I have that as a motion?
Make a motion to send a letter to Chief Josh Snyder, thanking him for making us aware, and because of the decision made at the fire association level, and FINS, that we'll just move forward like they are.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next is business items. The first will be to appoint Chris Thibodeau as the building inspector for the municipality of Digby.
I move that council appoint.
Should it say as a building inspector, not the? It should say as a. Yeah,
There we go.
he's
Yep.
not, yeah, it's not the, it's a.
I will move that council appoint Chris Thibodeau as a building inspector for the municipality of Digby.
Is there a seconder? All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. Accessibility Advisory Committee appointments. Can someone move to appoint Charlotte Saban as a community member of the Accessibility Advisory Committee?
I move to appoint Charlotte Saban as the community member of the Accessibility Advisory Committee.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next is to move to appoint a member of council to the Accessibility Advisory.
I move to appoint Warden Linda Gregory as the council member of the Accessibility Advisory Committee.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next, the J-class roads. With the J-class roads, as you saw from the cost share agreement, the concern, go ahead, Jim.
So they send this to us every year. So in our capital plan, we didn't identify any. So generally our response this time of year is no roads identified, and someone makes a motion for that, we send the paperwork back to them. So this is just the package every year that they send out for this program.
So I motion that we have identified no roads this year under the subdivision J-class streets.
I'll second
So we send a letter?
Oh, and send a letter.
I have to send it
Sorry,
back.
and send
Yep.
a letter to Public Works.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Heritage Advisory Committee recommendations.
Oh, yeah.
And we have to do each one singly.
There you go,
I'll go
David.
for this. Move that council accept Peters Island Lighthouse located on Peters Island as municipal registered heritage property.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Move that council accept Briar Island Western Lighthouse located on Briar Island be registered as municipal registered heritage property 14 years after we started the process.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Move that council accept Grand Passage Northern Lighthouse located on Briar Island as a registered municipal heritage property.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Move
Now-
that, oh, oops.
Before we start this, I just wanted to ask, I thought Manning Gash Jr.'s property was already on the heritage.
This is the one below that house. He bought the other house down below at the title property. And
Oh, okay, there, that's why I wanted to ask, because I thought, are we doing a repeat? Okay.
Well, oh yeah, it's called different names. Yeah, Grand Passage.
Well, see, it's just, I thought it was the same property on Grove Road. So would someone like to move that motion?
I'll move that council accept the application from Manning Gash Jr. to register as the former Titus property location at 215 Trout Cove Road in Centerville, Digby County, as a municipal heritage property.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried.
No, so now nobody can say that the federal government isn't complete. No, they still can say that, actually. Use this as a specific example. 14 years. Oh my God. It's like we don't even have a federal government.
They don't, not sure if they wanted to get it.
Yes, sir.
4.3.
It's appalling.
Oh, 4.3, housing ad hoc committee members. I don't know how I missed that.
I thought,
There's no attachment, so that our letter, we sent the letter to the Housing Coalition after our discussions in July, so they have wrote back that they're interested in forming a committee or having some meetings to see what.
So my suggestion would be, at this time, Angela, because she's on our housing, and our CAO go. Because right now, when they're talking about a lot of stuff, I want someone there that knows what's going on from our end with money.
yeah, they're definitely talking big.
We'll report back and see how much there is to discuss. If there's we haven't talked about the frequency with them or what everyone's visions are, so I'm sure we'll be in touch with you all as a group to share what that
I just
looks
think
like.
that's the best thing until we know.
Yeah.
So then could we have a motion to appoint Angela to the Housing Ad Hoc Committee member?
So moved.
And is there a seconder?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. And then, I don't think we need a motion, do we? That we're just appointing you?
Yep.
Because you just love
meetings
how
together.
The next, the Digby Search and Rescue thank you letter. They sent us a nice thank you. So I thought that was nice. The Canadian Shellfish Sanitation Program letter. And there was the letter of request from the Volunteer Emergency Service Provider Fuel Tax Exemption. And that came through Barrington.
Are we going to be dealing with that at a lot of sort of an odd spot to?
But it's under correspondence.
Yeah.
It was not.
Yeah, they just copied
They
us
just
on
copied
their.
us.
Oh,
on
it
their
was
letter.
copied on a letter. Okay, never mind then.
There are a few units that send out the letters to the other 49 municipalities.
Okay.
So that is both of that letter and the next one, both examples of that. So that's why they're in that category. There's no decision or participation requested.
And the next, under the correspondence was proposed service exchange and municipal reform from from Warden Eleanor Reardon, I believe. She's the East Hants warden, and the only comment I want to make is I agree with her.
I'm just gonna say, I agree with Eleanor on that, totally.
And actually, we talked about that.
That's a great line, eh? Thought of that
I
too.
don't know if we wanna discuss it next month, but is it something we wanna put in a letter like that, because
I guess I would suggest the government is well aware of those feelings at this point. So I think, again, the NSF conference is a very good chance
That we're gonna,
to voice that.
Yeah.
My only concern, I believe the House starts sitting on October 12th, so we may be discussing the results of whatever they've chosen to pass for legislation. So the municipal units have been very, very clear with the concerns, especially around the road program.
and if you see your MLA, you mention it.
So we'll see where they go. I guess is all I can say at this point. But yeah, the House starts sitting on the 12th,
Yes.
so it'll get very interesting very quickly for us
Just too big
to
a
see what the final.
ticket item. We can't afford that.
It's a big.
It's huge.
I like how she writes about,
Double our taxes.
you're doubling public works. I mean, taxpayers don't need that. On any
I
end.
agree. No, Eleanor was right
Very
on.
well written, yeah.
And, we did talk a little bit about, is that a Nova Scotia thing, but it was brought up.
Yep.
And, all right, under the advisory committee minutes, we had the PAC minutes of July the 12th. Was there any questions or concerns? Under other council committees, there's nothing. Under the joint intermunicipal committee minutes reports, there was the DART meeting package, the Digby Harbor Port Association minutes, the Waste Check Authority meeting notes, the Waste Check Authority package, the Waste Check compostable biodegradable packaging, the regional chairs meeting of June 29th, and the Digby Municipal Fire Services minutes of May 17th, 2023. Any questions on any of those?
Like how the fire services was really easy to read.
Yeah. It's in big print.
Yeah, I liked it.
I did, it was easy.
Jesus.
Besides board committee minutes, there's nothing. So we're gonna start with Counselor District Activities Report. George, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. Last month, no road calls for, first time I can remember. I had no road concerns. The road was, they come and gravelled our road and packed it down, rolled it with a big roller. Then shortly after that, it was light pavement, and some idiot comes by and does his power turns in the road with his four-wheeler and kind of messed it up. Anyway, that was never fails to amaze me. Then there was a couple of applications. I helped a couple of seniors with their applications for their seniors grant, and my committee meetings. Which were few and far between during the summer months. That's what it.
Okay. David?
Got a $3,500 quote for that building for the food bank. So that was much lower than I was expecting. That's awesome. Dealing with small crafts and harbors, we have a new minister of in charge, so we're going to pitch the thing the last minister said no to again. So the MP's working on that right now. He's suddenly gotten slightly more important though today, so maybe he'll get us some traction. Housing issues, how to get a bunch of furniture for a family. I read the Fitch report. That's the report in regards to emergency health services. We don't have an ambulance, simple as that. And the fire departments are having a meeting October 5th, and they're talking about buying an ambulance and running our own ambulance all over again because we have none. I mentioned that to the person in charge of EHS on this end of the province, and they threw a panic attack and told me to read the Fitch report, and that's what I should put my political energy into, and that our situation was specifically discussed. I'm 3/4 through it, haven't found our specific situation being discussed yet. I'm starting to wonder if it's in there, but we'll see. Septic issues, I got to do the scooter, that seems to be a regular occurrence. Several issues at the Island Manor. I had to go talk to several people. The issues seem to have been solved. Harassed my potential plow driver. I've been staying on top of that because we have no plow drivers. If we don't have an ambulance, at least we can have a road you can drive to the hospital on. Is sort of my panicky stress theory. They're also training loads of medical first responders down on the islands because of the no ambulance situation. You gotta love how people just jump right on things. They just, the hell with it, we'll do it ourselves. Animal control issue, dealt with. Mr. Cromwell with Turning the Tide wrote a food insecurity paper. He recommends that the province supports my efforts. Mentions me by name, so good. Let's see if they will. What else here? Assisted the fire department fundraiser. Got a couple of long-term things I'm looking at. One's getting a Conway workshop location on Long Island. I've got a location. Now I've got to start harassing the Conway people. I've spoken to a couple of them informally, but this is something I really want to get done because there's several kids that are going to be graduating. They need a job. And also the green energy smart grid idea. I'm starting to beat the bushes and spread that around, considering how we constantly lose power. I feel like that's something people could get behind. See if we can get some of that federal money. Got free internet for the Legion, and they sent me a thank you letter. I was like, oh, thanks guys.
Not an email?
No, it was an actual letter. Mail. Usually if that happens, like, oh man. I called in the road and DOT issues, a hole in the road and collapsed drainage, and what was the other thing? Dirty ferry area. It's our responsibility to clean the ferry area. We'll discuss it tomorrow. Yeah.
Next week.
Yeah. Oh. I'm seeing him tomorrow, actually. Got that mixed up. There.
Okay. Matthew?
Okay. Last council meeting, I have attended the second annual Digby Community Gardens event. As president of the Digby Area Recreation Commission, I attended and emceed the grand opening of the climbing wall, the first of its kind east of Montreal. I spoke with Jamie Ayers at Compass Nova Scotia about the progress at Barton School. He updated me that New Commons Development has now taken over the project and that they were now in search for a company to do the work at the school.
You got the money? Oh, sorry.
They had reached out to a couple of outfits in and around Digby, but wasn't very familiar with the local construction teams. The companies he had reached out to in the valley and city were busy and didn't respond. He thought a couple of firms had responded back. He was very happy to forward the RFP to anyone I could think of, so I reached out to 5 companies I knew of that could handle the project. 4 reached back and asked if New Commons Development would pass along the RFP so they could bid on it, and they did.
Oh, good. And local work, too. That's awesome.
I then helped Wendy Morrell and Frugal Moms with perishable items for their food bank. Thanks again to Councillor David Tudor. He has been a great source of finding food. Chew, man.
I got more.
Good. We'll talk. I attended a Zoom meeting with the province and municipalities on the new recommendations to the Service Exchange Agreement. Then I attended a second meeting with the province and municipalities on the new recommendations to the Service Exchange Agreement. This time public work officials were in attendance. I helped with Frugal Moms at the Barton Baptist Church giving out food. We helped 109 adults and 89 children in just over 2 hours. Wendy Morrell is really doing a great job helping the community get food. Her parents, Gail and Ross Morrell, help out, and Alice Merrill. Okay. I attended the 60th annual Plimpton Gilbert's Cove Fire Department banquet. Very well attended. New Chief Michael Amaro has not seen a volunteer base this big since the late 80s and 90s.
Awesome.
They have a lot of new people who are bringing a lot of new skill and new expertise to the membership. Vice President Rob Sweeney did a great job organizing the event and hosting. He was also given a special gift from the department for all his dedication and hard work behind the scenes. Myself, Minister of Labour, Skills and Immigration, Jill Balter, Warden Linda Gregory, and community members met with the Minister of Transportation, Kim Maslin, at the Brighton Barton Fire Hall. Also in attendance were her Deputy Minister, Peter Hackett, and Chief Engineer, Mark Peachy. We had a roundtable meeting about getting the Highway 101 file opened and brought up many reasons why this project should be finished sooner rather than later. One recent fact that was brought to our attention was that between Marshalltown and Barton, there were 37 accidents along the highway in July and August alone this summer.
What?
Yeah. There were a lot more accidents there this weekend.
The crazy ass that messes everybody up. We told them at the time it was a disaster, and they're like, no, the experts tell us this is great.
It's a lot of accidents. A promise is made to come back later in the fall with documentation and mapping to show what's left to do, and ongoing discussions will continue on how to move this file forward. I attended Pat Stevens' retirement party at the municipal office and wished her the best after 31 years of service. I volunteered at the Warcraft Rally, selling 50/50 tickets in the main tent at the mall parking lot. Talked to many people riding in from northern New Brunswick, PEI, and Cape Breton. Attended Digby's Fish and Game meeting. Some directors are stepping down, and we are looking for more individuals to come on board. I made some phone calls and reached out to some local people that live in the neighborhood and who enjoy using the facility. I have a couple of people attending next month's meeting who may put their names in. I've taken lots of calls in regards on building procedures, which I forwarded along to our building department, roads, culverts, farm animals running loose. I've written letters to constituents wanting explanations as to why their taxes seem high, and environmental issues. It's been a busy couple months.
Angela?
I also attended the second annual Community Gardens, and I was very impressed with it. That was the first time I'd been there, and It was nice to see that, Dalla and all them are using it. Dalla, the elementary school, it's a nice area. I also attended the dark climbing wall grand opening. I didn't climb the wall, but hopefully at some point. I did attend a quilt show at the Acaciaville Baptist Church, Dorn Wharf Rat Rally. I also volunteered at the Wharf Rat Rally registration on Friday and Saturday. I attended community conversations at Bear River Oakdean Center that was put on by Turning the Tides. I attended 2 of the service agreement sessions online. And I attended the Bear River Board of Trade Tourism event. They've been selected to do a special on Bear River as a fall destination. And they had someone from Department of Tourism come and do a presentation, and we're going to get together again later to put together a package. I also attended the Nova Scotia Police Association in Bridgewater. I found that a very good conference. When I first walked in there the first night, I thought, why am I here? Because it was all men with suits on. But the next day it was very informative. And I did bring something up at the Police Advisory Board, and that's that Department of Justice was there, and they say that they had 11 seats paid at the Police Training Academy in PEI, and it's for marginalized community members, and it's they pay 100% of it, the accommodations, the tuition, everything. So the RCMP aren't allowed to actually promote it, but I thought if anyone knows of anyone that's looking to get involved with law enforcement, it would be a perfect opportunity. And
But you have to be marginalized.
yes, you get women,
Yeah.
female or whatever, and so that was one thing that I thought was good. I'm still waiting to get back some other information about some of the other stuff. I attended a meeting last night with Dash, and I'm glad that we're going to start with this housing group, because I think that there's going to be a lot of issues this winter, because there was horror stories in every district already, and I said it's not even winter yet, so I'm hoping that something can be done. I don't know what it will be, but because everyone that's involved with housing are okay with housing, but they don't want emergency. If you get emergency issues, you can't come to us. We only help you 2 years from now.
Yeah.
So it's like they keep getting pushed around, and so that's why I think for the short term there's going to be an issue.
You can sometimes get ahead of if they're in homeless or in an abuse situation. There is a form you can get from housing that
Yeah, there is.
help them to that.
But it's not their priority.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a priority. Yeah,
It's not.
client.
They
Yes,
very
that's
clear.
right. And
Those ones aren't anymore? Abuse? I did that I got somebody in just a few months ago.
Yeah, well, they're saying that you got to go through the system properly, and because I've got people sleeping in tents.
In your district?
Yeah.
And there's also a group called Project Hope, and apparently they're working with the province, and they're supposed to be more they don't have housing, but they help you with emergency needs.
Uh-huh.
But apparently when they go to Jill's office, they're sending them to community housing, which is a 2-year wait list.
Yes.
Because they didn't know anything about Project Hope, so.
I thought it was a 6-year wait list. That's for the old folks' homes.
So anyway, I just hope that, we've all got to keep in mind that there's probably going to be a lot more conversations about it, because you're probably going to have people in your districts that are going to be saying there's someone in a tent in my backyard, or someone in a trailer. Because it's like you're hearing about in Halifax, they're asking them not to close the campgrounds down.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so anyways, it was a very uncomfortable meeting. And also, but on a good point, I had a message yesterday from Chris Callahan from Brentwood Girls, and they just wanted to tell us about Tiny Tim, who is one of the cats that they rescued, and they put him in the incubator that we helped fund.
Yeah.
And he's good now, and he's almost ready to go to home. And so she just really wanted to reach out to the municipality and thank us for the help with that. And
Yeah, I was reading it over.
And she also said that they're starting their first fundraising event in October since 2019. So they're looking forward to getting back to the community and stuff.
They've been fundraising, but
Not Friends of
Yes.
Barrels.
yeah, but just not face to face.
Online auctions and stuff. But anyway, she just wanted to pass that on, that she really appreciates it. That help. And
Just, George, do you have a question?
No, wait till she's finished.
I'm done.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm just going to ask Matthew about Compass. Is Compass not involved with the Barton School anymore?
It's been moved over to New Commons Development. That's the new,
Compass is still the owner of the property.
other the owner.
Yeah, always were.
Yeah.
You don't have
Any
any.
questions about this file, feel free to ask me. So they've changed projects, so Jamie is managing one of their builds in the city. So they've engaged a firm that has been working with them all through this project to just play a role in dealing with the companies and the construction phase.
So is there any light at the end of the tunnel that maybe these people might get something off the ground? Like, it's been, what, 4 or 5 years since we
Oh, it's
turned it over?
ridiculous.
It's definitely moving slow, would be my observation. I think, I'm hoping Matt's update was from conversations he had way back in July. Moving slower than I think, but like, they're moving slow even on the stage of getting to RFP. Like, they're just, again, it's a good news, bad news. We're on the bad news side of it.
Yeah.
Compass had so much success in the city and was awarded so much money. And they took over a couple of
It does.
buildings that they just went like this. And our project and the Shelburne projects, you guys have heard me say before, got the 2 smallest projects the organization has and the 2 projects outside of HRM. So there's challenges, but and then the lack of interest in the initial rounds of their effort to find contractors remotely interested in that work was not.
It's just a shame after 4 or 5 years they decided to hand it off to somebody.
Well, this is
And now it'll be another couple of years
They
probably.
haven't, though. They've
Yeah.
hired them.
They're just hiring
I know,
help
but
because
they kind of like disassociate themselves with it and turn it over to somebody else.
The New Commons is kind of getting all, they're part of the Canadian infrastructure where they're getting this money from, I think, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're going to hear their name. Their name seems to be coming out more and more in this. I believe they have had. I think they've also had some discussions with the coalition. Like I think they're growing in this space as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I just have one more thing to add, that the siesta has to be torn down. That's it. So
They bought it and it.
they said that it was built in stages and that the foundation isn't that great, so they said it'd be more work to fix it than it would be to
So they bought a lemon.
and rebuild.
Yeah, I heard that the other day too.
Well, maybe they could rebuild it a couple stories
Well,
or.
they said they're happy about it, that they can build back further or something from the road, and but it's I'm concerned about the winter, because I mean, I wanted to say last night that I hope it's gone by winter, but then I thought, well, it may upset people because of
Nowhere else to be.
emergency housing, but I could see it being a big issue with no electricity, everything shut off, and then say they're vacant. I had some concern, but I didn't.
You think people might
So
break into it? Just have a.
they had to borrow funds to purchase that location, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
So that loan and those funds will still be owed, and they'll have no. That's a very tough spot for a non-for-profit to start
Yeah,
building
I know.
from literally a negative hole.
Well, yeah, now they're
Whoa.
The mayor told me that they had put in for the auxiliary fund, so they're gonna tear it down and build up from there, but did they get that money?
How are they gonna service the loan in the meantime?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Ugh.
Since our last council meeting, I attended a 50th anniversary at Highview, which my grandson came with me, and we had a really good time. I attended a dinner theater for hospice at Mountain Gap. I also attended a Dark Wellness Care and Connect. Instead of going to the Police Association conference, I attended the regional chairs. I attended the Workmen's Compensation Board draft strategic plan. I attended the Digby Gardens and then the climbing wall. I, with Matt, met with Minister Kim Maslin and Minister Jill Balzer over the completion from Marshalltown to Weymouth. I think we've got to stop saying Digby because those quicks have been done. So it's really dangerous. Yeah, it really, we've got to start pushing that because they're not hearing otherwise. I attended the volunteer award ceremony, it's the 49th yesterday, where Cindy O'Neill was the municipal rep. That was well done. They did a special thing for next year. They're bringing, and I suppose you're supposed to know who this person was, but they told me it was a Backstreet Boy. He's going to be there to MC or help with it.
Halifax?
Backstreet?
For next year?
Yeah, is it a Backstreet Boy?
Backstreet?
No.
They planned ahead that much, the Backstreet Boy?
The guy that, I'm saying Backstreet and it's not right. They were in Halifax and then they went on. Trailer Boys.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, very easy to mix those two up.
Well, I don't know them, either one. Anyway, because I said, what's the big deal?
I love
Because
Trailer Boys
everyone
on
was
Hong
laughing.
Kong.
And this man, blonde hair, straggly head, was speaking, and all I was saying, and Cindy was laughing because I said, well, he'd be okay if he got a haircut. So I guess that's his mode of transportation or looks or whatever. I also attended the Scallop Days as a volunteer and speaking at the opening and closing. At the Wharf Rat Rally, I attended the opening and closing and was a volunteer for all 4 days. I did traffic and I sold registration at the main tent. I attended the Smith Cove Fire Department breakfast. I have still not been able to get to the Bear River one because every time something comes up. I attended the pig roast for the Digby Neck Fire Department. I also have been part of listening to our plans from the province with the roads and everything with our service exchange, and I have been on 3 meetings.
This idea.
And each meeting was different than the other meeting. That's what got me. They weren't the same.
No.
I thought, am I in the same place?
I wonder if we should figure out what it would cost if we had all these hundreds of kilometers of roads that we had to deal with.
I couldn't afford it.
Yeah, that's what I mean, but actually have the numbers say, okay, we'd have to raise our taxes X amount. Jeff, sorry?
Yes.
So the issue and why you haven't seen that math is because I think the last phone call that I was on, Deputy Warden Ross was on, they can't give us over half of those numbers to do that math on.
So we can't even compare.
So we can't do a perspective because I can't remember. They can't answer the plowing numbers.
No sense.
They can't, so
Including
none of it
this.
could we get. So we had those. We were hoping at some point of this to be able to provide you all with that financial model, and there was so much guesstimate work in it.
It's just useless.
It was useless.
One number thrown at it was 10,000 a kilometer to plow, wasn't it?
That's what they said on my
Yeah.
call.
That's what they said, but that's not even the J-class road agreement. So our concern was, is that even accurate, or how much negotiation would come down to their different regions, but yes, that was one of the few numbers. But we couldn't, shouldering, the ditching, the maintenance, all that kind of maintenance style activity. We all were hoping for numbers so that we could say, okay, here's the capital, and then yearly that
We have to triple our tax rate.
We kept doing it, but we had to pay. We couldn't get them all.
I think it's the provinciality, you're going to triple everybody's or double everybody's tax rates, that they drop this pretty quick. I can't see why this has even gone as far as it has. It makes, it's also, is there a strong personality behind this and refuses to accept reality? I can't figure out what it would be.
So my loose interpretation at this point is there are units in some areas that they were seeing development pre-COVID. development pressures.
Mhm.
So if you didn't, we have geographically speaking, our municipal unit is spread out more than a lot of municipal units. And we have a lot more dirt roads. So if we had a real main dirt road that was all of a sudden seeing a lot of pressure, if the tail end of Lighthouse Road wasn't paved, you had all this development pressure and the neighborhood was turning into a very nice neighborhood, if the municipal unit wanted to force that dirt road to get paved, those conversations, there was no way to do that. So there were some units pre this discussion from past work that NSFM and AMA had done that wanted this option to be able to have municipal units with a voice to say, hey, we want to get this paved. That simple request of having a mechanism
Exploded into this. Oh, we can save a whole bunch of money.
Morphed itself into not what was asked and then some version of a compromise. Now, like I say, it has been, those of you that were on the calls, I don't think there's a supporter that's showing their face on any of those calls, but the units that were requesting that are being very, very quiet. And some of the very big units, Halifax and CBRM have a large amount of these rural roads as well. They have been very vocal as well about the challenges to their municipalities. I think especially on the calls, CBRM.
Yeah, Halifax can't afford their dirt roads. We're going to afford ours. Yeah. 6,000 people.
The next I attended Pat's retirement,
Oh,
and Pat's niece, where she went to live, ended up in the ER department because she had numbness going down her arm, face, and I think leg.
Heart attack?
Well, that wouldn't be what was go through my head if she was having tingling all down one side. So she said they had told her it was a 6-hour wait, so she figured it wasn't that serious. That's all I know so far. I haven't heard anything back from that. I also attended the Mayor's Congress, and the Congress, they have changed the way we do things, and we'll be doing written in reports and spending, like we did a lot of healthcare. We were talking about housing, and it affects every province. It's not just Nova Scotia. And it was just listening and adding what's happening in our areas was super scary. The same with healthcare. We talked about housing, but I'm waiting for those minutes before I get into any depth of it. I will tell you it was a busy, filled few days. From there, I would say that pretty well covers it. The Point Prim social that was going to happen on the 16th is now on the 30th. So if anyone wants to attend, that's the evening. That's a nice thing. The Fisherman's Memorial Service got changed from the 17th in the end to the 24th. And I was told they didn't have any new names this year, but they still had 20-some people in attendance, which was really good.
Is that the one in Yarmouth? Or?
No, that's the one in Digby.
I used to go to the one in Yarmouth sometimes.
I always go to the one in Digby. So that's the end of my report.
If I may interrupt, I forgot to mention one thing. I met with the Minister of Environment and Jill Balser on Briar Island, and I heavily pushed that the province has to find a way to keep that boat that they use to lay the various tidal generators, and it's extremely high tech, and it's the only one on the eastern seaboard. And if it goes away, the entire tidal industry will be done because they won't be able to do any of their work anymore. And it was maybe it was difficult for the previous company to maintain that, and we pushed hard. It's now it got taken in receivership by Dominion Diving, and we pushed hard to the Minister of Environment, and he seemed to be surprised. He didn't know this key thing in regards to the attenuation of tidal. So I thought that was, and Terry was extremely helpful, extremely well organized, showing lots of charm and all those things. He was very good there.
The tidal industry, isn't it DFO that's stopping that?
Well, It ended. The SME ended for a variety of reasons, including some difficulty in regards to regulations. But there were other issues. For example, this boat that cost, I think it was thousands upon thousands a day that they had it rented for.
I think if the title industry wants to thrive, they have to deal with the issues of DFO because they'll forever decide.
I also pitched that we should have a thing like Force because SME put in like $1 million worth of infrastructure. Like it's sitting there and it's ready. There's power purchase agreements, like all these sorts of things. And so all this privately done with some government money, all this infrastructure sitting there, and it just went to receivership to a couple of different Corcom, I think, or somebody. I can't remember who it was, but it went into receivership. So I was pitching to the province that they should take over that, and then we would have our own little force. The infrastructure is already there, and it has all those benefits over Force. Like we had no money put in down there, and we had stuff in the water producing power, and Force didn't. So I think it went well. It's definitely something worth pushing.
I just want to remind everyone about the Zoom meeting tomorrow with the EPR.
EPR.
Yeah.
So remember, that's really important to be on if you can. That's at 4:00 by Zoom. And the only other thing I wanted to remind you of is the public consult for transit on October the 11th at 2:30 p.m. at the Fundy Restaurant. So that's another one. That's
October 5th, right? That one? Or
October the 11th.
11th.
And then there is another one on the 16th at 11 a.m. at Bear River at 1913 Clemensville Road. So I don't know if that's the time of the Bear River Legion for sure. I've got to look up where it's 1913 Clemens, but that's where I think it is. So those are the two. Okay. Just wanted to give you some heads up to try to remember, and we'll go from there.
The one in Clemensville, same as the one in Digby?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's in two places. So I'm hoping that I know there's people going to be going, because I've already heard from people that
me too.
attending.
Down my way.
Yeah. And, which is a good thing, and I personally think the room's not going to be big enough, but hopefully I'm wrong. So on saying that, there's no other business and there's no in camera. Would someone like to adjourn? And is there a seconder?
I'm exactly in a fun. See you guys later.
Contrary minded, motion carried.